So it's 5:01.
Oh, are you in charge?
Amy's going to be a few minutes late, so you guys are stuck with me.
Okay.
Open the meeting at 5:01, agenda review and disposition.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. And has everybody had a chance to read the minutes from the June 5th meeting? Any changes, corrections? Okay. Can I ask for a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as read.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Principals report.
So I have a fairly brief principals report. I wanted to let you know about our anticipated enrollment for the year. So pre-K I'm unaware of at this point, but for kindergarten, we currently have 28 students enrolled. So saying out there to the world, we want your kindergartners, please come and register them so we can plan on them. In first grade, we have 46 students anticipated. In second grade, we have 34 students anticipated. In third grade, we have 30 students anticipated. In fourth grade, we have 47 students anticipated. In fifth grade, we have 49 students anticipated. In sixth grade, we have 31 students anticipated. And in seventh, 49, and eighth, 47.
Wow.
I draw your attention to that because currently that's 4 grades right around 30, which is considerably different to how it was 10 years ago where we were around 60 per grade.
What's
So
the total there? Do you have a total?
I do not have a
Okay,
total.
that's fine.
Wanted to let you know in terms of our summer here, extended school year and Title I reading summer school happened. We had some great tutoring that occurred through both of those programs. A little inconsistent attendance from the students, but those who did come had a very solid experience. Like to thank Parks and Rec. They flexed with us this summer because of all of the construction here, and they did use our space a little bit, but mostly ran out of other facilities. I did have the opportunity to go to the rock band camp presentation or performance down on the Common, which was fantastic. Thank you to Jake Stevens and Will Gunn, and there were many PES current students and alums as a part of rock band camp. So we were well represented. Upcoming events, we have teacher and staff work days are scheduled for August 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. The morning of the 24th will be our moment as a full staff in the gymnasium where we really kick off a lot of the professional development within the building. And I wanted to invite the board that if you wanted to come and say welcome back, that would be a wonderful time to come. So that would be at about 8 o'clock on the 24th.
On the 24th?
Correct, which is a
Okay.
Thursday.
Okay.
New student tours, Tuesday, August 22nd from 11 to 12. Our all-school open house has been moved to be much earlier this year. It will be August 24th from 5 to 6 p.m. With the back-to-school barbecue that PTA hosts from 6 to 7 or 7:30. And
May I ask why it's so early?
there was a request that all teachers be present. We want to get the kindergarten families in earlier. And the last couple of years, we had done a K-1-2 open house during the day. So it works better for parents if it's in the evening. So it's sort of we're going to try it out this year and see how it goes. It also gets the middle school families in early for the middle school trips so that we can talk to those middle school families early about the sleepaways. Also new this year, as a part of the open house, we are having an all middle school meeting, parents, students, and staff from 5 to 5:30, where we will better outline expectations and ways to access supports for our middle schoolers. And that will be in the gymnasium. First day of school is Monday, August 28th. And picture day is Tuesday, September 12th. In the area of curriculum instruction and assessment, we will continue to focus on literacy this year. I'm not going to outline all of that for you right now, but I'm happy to do that at a later meeting. We have a lot to do tonight, so I'm happy to talk more about that at a later meeting. We are excited for the full launch of our new reading and writing curriculum for kindergarten through 5th grade, which is Wit and Wisdom, which is all based on authentic real texts. So very excited about that. Wanted to let you know that the ASK program, which is the before school program that runs from 7:30 to 8:25, we are waiting to see if that grant is approved. We are anticipating it will be, but at this point we do not have notification of that. As I already said, the PTA is planning the back to school barbecue, and the parents are responsible for that event. For the bulk of it, because the teachers are prepping for open house. So I encourage parents to get in touch with the PTA about how you could be helpful or what you could bring to make that event happen. Lastly is the facilities update. We are fully staffed, and we want to give a huge thank you to Gary Miller, John Cormia, Matt Sumsky, and Anthony Ciotti. The building has had a deep cleaning this summer. We are not done. We still have a lot to do, but I did want to thank them, and I wanted to give the board, I'm going to give a very cursory facilities update. You approved a lot in May and June, you remember? So there's a number of things that are still in progress, including the 4 more fire doors, the drainage and entry concrete is in progress. The septic pipes being scoped with a camera and then relined is going to happen Thursday. The new scoreboards have been ordered. We expect those to go in next summer. The gymnasium has been completely painted. That's check. That's done.
Those you order those a year ahead of time, the scoreboards?
That's the lag time. In progress are the lights for our school sign out front. That's in progress. This steamer you authorized is being installed this week. Tree pruning is going to happen tomorrow. The pallet jack is here and on site. The flagpole is on site and it will be installed before school, so that will be up before the start of school. The bathroom vanities will get put in next week. The walk-in freezer has, that you were unaware of, that happened since our last meeting. We had a failure of our walk-in freezer and we need it to operate, so we went ahead and decided that we would fix that, and that has been fixed. The sound system for the gymnasium, the materials have been ordered. We're waiting for those to come in and to be installed. Upper cabinets for Park and Rec are arrived and installed. The gymnasium flooring is going to happen next summer because the rooftop unit work and the change to propane meant that the gymnasium was not accessible for this summer in order to get that refinished. So Jason thought that we'd have to wait until next summer to get that accomplished at this point because it
Are we okay with the money in that regard? Just to roll? Okay.
All surface cleaner that you authorized is on site and here. The propane boiler, the HVAC and the propane boiler system are all installed and ready for startup. So we're ready at the end of this week to start everything up and make sure everything's functional. So that's very exciting. They've worked really hard to get to that point with enough time to spare. So thank you to them. You had authorized the mechanical drawings for the space that we're in right now. Those are in progress. We do not have those. We're hoping to have those for you at the next board meeting. The swing set is on site and we're hoping to have it in before the start of school, but it may be September by the time the swing set gets installed. And
That's for the middle school?
that's for the middle school. So that's
That's a lot.
an overview on all of that. So that is my portion of the principal's report.
Do you want me to go to this?
Sure.
Then we'll go
Yes.
to
Yep. You-
that. Hi, everybody. Hope everybody had a great summer. Same thing, a few quick updates, more bullets, starting with athletics. Fall sports are going to open up next Monday, the 14th, with the football team practicing. Field hockey, cross country, and all the soccer teams will follow the week of August 21st. And volleyball, we did make a change. They were going to be starting that week as well, but they're now going to start on the first day of school on the 28th. All of the coaching staffs are in place, and we have approximately 135 students signed up for the various teams at this time. I do anticipate having some more
How many did you
show
say?
up and paperwork roll in.
How many did you say? Sorry.
135
Okay.
right now that I know of that
Yeah.
signed up.
Yeah.
But we usually get some more and some SIU students too that will come in. And all of our teams were going to open up their first game events in that first week of September 4th. So everybody will be on the move. Plymouth Pediatrics will be coming to Plymouth Elementary on September 6th for sports physicals for any students that need those. We already have DC Photography there. Once again, we'll be taking all the team and individual photos. That will be on August 30th. And Plymouth Regional High School athletic trainer John Dooley and Deb McManus will be completing the impact concussion testing in the first week of school. And they have done a nice job. We coordinate that during Mrs. McManus's health classes, so that way we can touch upon all those kids in grades 5 through 8. And at this time, all the game schedules, PCs information is all posted on the PES website under the athletics tab, and the after-school practice times and that photo order form, it will be posted soon as I get all of those solidified and get that information from the photographer. In terms of safety, last year we had all of our required school safety drills were completed. We did a total of 12 drills, 8 fire drills, 2 secure classroom, and our 2 bus evacuation drills. And I'll be working with Plymouth Fire Department, Plymouth Police Department to set up dates and times for drills that we start pretty much right away in September and through the fall months. Get as many as we can, at least the fire drills in before the snow falls. We had 11 safety committee members complete another FEMA course. Last year, the IS 700 Introduction to National Incident Management System. And we still have 3 individuals that are finishing up and in progress. So was happy to see our safety committee members really dive in and tackle another course. Paraprofessionals, they'll be participating in a CRAZE training, and CRAZE stands for Civilian Response to the Active Shooter event. And that will be happening on the Tuesday when we come back, when faculty and staff come back. Paraprofessionals will be that one, and then we are hoping to find a date and time to offer it again to any faculty that would like to attend as well. Also, I've reached out to Plymouth Regional High School to look for a date to do our off-campus evacuation drill. We haven't done that drill in recent years, so I'd like to get back to doing that. Sometimes it's, we didn't get to do it during COVID, and then I think we attempted it another time and weather canceled us out twice. So we'll see if we can pull that off this year. Let's see. All of the classroom emergency folders have been updated and returned to their locations. Our PES emergency operations plan has also been updated and is in draft form for review. The documents essentially have stayed the same. We did have a new appendix added this year called Emergency Action Plan for Sports-Related Injuries. This document is basically, it's a reviews chain of command, injury procedures, important numbers, EMS access, concussion, and return to play. So that was a added appendix to the end of the already existing plan. And once that has been reviewed, that's Plymouth Fire, Plymouth Police, Kyla, Tanya, myself, Amy, will sign off on that, and then that will be ready to go to the DOE, Department of Ed, and Homeland Security. That's a requirement every year. And then our first safety committee meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, September 6th, here at Plymouth Elementary. And that's it.
Thank you. Privilege of the floor. Anything? Don't everybody speak at once. All right. And discussion items.
All right, the first one we have is handbook approval. We're going to table that till next month. We have a few more updates before we bring it to the board.
Can I make a request to send that to us,
Yeah,
like a week before, maybe 4 days before the meeting?
Yeah,
Could you highlight any
Any
substantive
changes?
changes too, please?
There will be no substantive changes
Okay.
that we've gone through it once. There will be no substantive changes, but we will highlight, there are some things that need to get, but they're more grammar than anything else.
That's a rich change.
Yep. We will send it to you with enough time for you to read it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes.
and then this year, Tanya is just going to do a year in review quickly about how the year went in general, including assessment data that is required. And then as part of her reporting, there's some other RSAs tied into it that have to get reported out on, like bullying counts and the assessment data as well. So Tanya?
So I prepared a document for you that's in front of you. I am not going to read the narrative that I have there in front of you. I'm going to speak very broadly to each area underneath it, okay? Student enrollment is holding steady at about 400, as I said in the my principal's report. You know, we do have some grades that are considerably smaller, so we will pay attention to that. The free and reduced lunch rate, which is the percentage of students or families, actually it's students, who qualify for free and reduced lunch, is 33.01%. And that is a relatively stable number for Plymouth. It has fluctuated a little bit over the years, but not very much. So I wanted to make you aware of that. Many of our grants use that figure as a determinant for eligibility for grants. Next is student attendance, and I just would draw your attention to the table on page 1. The major change from last year's parent-student handbook is that all absences are unexcused unless there's medical documentation that the child has been sick. And we did that because we really wanted to better capture the number of days that kids are out of the building. And you'll notice that, I mean, we had 121 students who had 10 plus absences. That is a lot of time out of the classroom. And we had 58 students with 20 or more absences from the classroom. So we know that school attendance is the biggest determinant of success in school. And we're unclear if this is a long-standing trend, but we will say that since COVID, it's actually down, you know, over the course since COVID. But we're very much wanting attendance to be highlighted as a critical component to school success. And a little later, you'll hear it's a goal. It will become a goal for us for the coming year. And I'll be talking about it a lot at school board meetings.
So you used to report more to the police about it. It's not, that doesn't happen anymore, right?
No, we do,
still
and
do?
we send our school resource officer out,
Okay.
and that's fantastic. State law is a little different about
Right.
truancy, as you are aware, so
Yeah.
there is no truancy court, or and the family court system really is not working with us. We certainly can report it to DCYF as educational neglect. It has to be very significant and usually another component of neglect as a part of it. We've really found that working with families is the best thing to do, to celebrate the days when kids do come to school. We have gotten in touch with divorced parents, so if the child, has trouble coming and, trying to involve all the adults in kids' lives about coming to school. And we set up a silent mentor program this year so that the kiddos who were not coming to school had someone besides their homeroom teacher who was saying, you came 5 days this week, or we didn't assign a role of mentor or mentee, but it was just one other person who was really paying attention. Is this child in school, coming to school, or are they not? So
what's your suspected reason, or like what do they say is the reason for
it's
not?
different for every family. Sometimes
Okay.
it's anxiety. Sometimes it is a family where none of the people in the home are getting up to go, sometimes it is flat out middle school refusal, so there's a very wide variety.
Sometimes it's vacation.
And sometimes it's vacation, so.
Is this a trend though, Kyla, throughout the SAU, or are we
Well,
more significant?
the attendance laws have changed a little bit over the past few years, where seat time isn't as valued as it was in the past. You see it more at the high school than at the elementary school. It's more, there's a little bit more accountability at the high school because it's credit bearing, so you have to
Yeah.
get the credit, and but it really, it has shifted from seat time. And then COVID has really, coming back from COVID, getting kids back in all the time. Remember, we switched in and out of remote, we were in school, kids were out. So there's been more flexibility as far as attendance. The court system now, they do follow through with truancy, but like Tanya said, it's only in significant cases. And so that percentage is still low. Like that percentage of kids that are missing 60 plus days is low. And those are the priorities for us to kind of take that legal route with
Which
the
we
parents,
have.
with the
have.
DCYF. So we do have a number of cases in the court system now, but that's missing close to half the school year. The rest of it, we work with the families to get them back in.
Okay.
That's the best we can do. It is a trend. Attendance is down statewide.
Was that the reason to change the focus to absent, unexcused without medical documentation?
That was certainly a piece of it, and the other piece is that there's a little, so it creates a little pressure for the family around that, and it's not, well, I called them in, so they're excused. You have to be a little more accountable.
So do you ask if somebody's out sick for so many days that they get, they're supposed to get a doctor's note or whatever it is?
Yes. Under staffing, as you may have read in the national news and the state news, is an issue at Plymouth Elementary School. We have been able to hire well-qualified, certified people. But I do want to say out loud that the applicant pool has diminished in number. So there are less and less people applying, and that's, certainly worth noting. In addition, we have had trouble filling our support staff positions. So as you know, we went many months without a full second shift custodial staff. There was an extreme shortage of substitute teachers. We were able to use paraeducators and shift them in often to substitute teach for the day, but we definitely need substitute teachers as we move forward. In the area of professional development, I'm extremely proud of the work we did at Plymouth Elementary School and really leading a lot of the PD within SAU, within the SAU 48. We finished half of the Keys to Beginning Reading professional development, which is all based in structured literacy and the science of reading. You might read about what's happening in New York City, and they're also retraining all of the public school teachers in New York City. I happened to go to a conference this summer in Colorado, and it turned out that a number of the organizations who were there were using the same trainers that we're using here. So I'm pleased with that. Our middle school teachers last year participated in the keys to comprehension, and this year they will participate in the keys to content writing, and we will finish the keys to beginning reading class. An exciting element of Plymouth Elementary School is that we also had more than 10, I think we're up to 11 individuals who voluntarily are participating in the Department of Ed's letters training, which is essentially a second master's in literacy. The Department of Ed funded that for all teachers in the state of New Hampshire. It's voluntary at this point, and a large portion of our folks are participating in that. So they are to be commended for that. Also, the Professional Development Committee wrote their new five-year plan, which is available online, which manages how to be certified and gives suggestions on developing your skills as an educator. In the area of curriculum instruction and assessment last year, there was a group within SAU 48 that began to look at literacy programs, curriculums. And as you know, we had Michelle Apriliano, Kristen Kilduff, and Jess Dixon volunteered to pilot Wit and Wisdom and then advocated for us to adopt that. We are in our third year of our Into Math curriculum, and we worked as a building last year to make sure we were getting to all of the modules of that. If you never get to the statistics unit at the end of the book, your students never get exposure to statistics or geometry. So it's important that the whole curriculum is covered and you don't just sort of get as far as you can. We worked hard on that last year. And in addition, this is important for the goals that are going to come later. For the first time, we had our teachers were required by me to conduct 3 SAS modular exams above the summative tests that they do at the end of the year to get kids exposure to what that test is and better understanding of what the standards are and how to do well on that. So as a class to go through those assessments so that they aren't caught off guard at the end with the big summative exam.
Donna, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What's the average time frame for a reading program and a math program? I feel like since I've been here, I feel like we've gone through like 3 or 4 different reading programs and math programs.
So I think we've
what's
gone
that
through 2 math.
average?
It's about 6 years for
Okay.
math.
Okay.
And our license for Wonders was also 6 years.
Okay.
And we extended that, so that expired my first year here. So, which means that the digital portion of that does not support the paper version of that, and it gets very clunky. And the research is coming out that those programs were not well aligned with what evidence-based practices are.
Okay.
So,
So average 6 years for math and reading.
yes, I will say.
It's reviewed and assessed every time the subscription is up. We look at our data
Yeah.
to see if there's been impact, and then we make adjustments if we need to make an adjustment.
Okay. Thank you.
Within reading, we've got to remember there's reading and writing. And then structured literacy has many components to it. So phonics. So I think we expanded our phonics program since I've been here. We adopted a phonemic awareness program because it's a much more complicated task to teach and learn to be an efficient reader.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next in the summary that you have before you is the academic achievement overview for Plymouth Elementary School on the New Hampshire SAS. You'll notice that as a building, our average for ELA is 55% proficient. That's slightly above the state average. And our math proficiency is also at 55%. It's a little bit more than slightly above it. We're right in line, or a little bit above, also in science. That being said, 55% proficient is concerning. So, it's the first time those numbers have been, that either of us are aware, have been presented to the school board as publicly as they are being tonight. We have a lot of work to do around proficiency. I will say, I've looked at the trends over the course of the last 10 years. There was a time when this building was working on performance assessments, but there was still assessment data, sort of dipsticks for those years. I can tell that for kiddos who come through our program and graduate at the end of 8th grade, a much larger percentage of them are proficient. Okay, so you've got to remember, we're building skills over the course of 9 years, right? So this is an average between all of those grades, but that average is about where it's been for as long as I looked back, which was plenty long enough.
Do you remember, Kyle might remember what the state average is? Because I know that it's not like really high either. It's not like, oh, the
No,
state
they're-
average
they're
is.
around these levels
90.
about 5 years ago, then they
Yeah.
dipped below it
Yeah.
significantly during COVID.
Yeah,
And then you've probably seen on the news, it's gone back up.
okay, yeah,
So there is growth. What's happened to Plymouth in the past 3 to 5 years is there's been a lot of move in, move out.
right, yeah.
So like Tanya was
Yeah.
saying, if you follow our kids that have been here K-8,
Mm-hmm.
there's a big discrepancy between performance outcomes with those students and students that move in and out. You only
Right.
have them for the year, and they move out, then you don't have a lot of time to play
Right.
catch up sometimes.
Yep.
Not always the case, but that has been analyzed, and there is a lot of move in, move out. So that does happen. Not to say that that's an excuse. I think that's what we're getting after now, is that no matter when the kid comes in, we have to get that kid to read, we have to get them to perform in math. It's just what we have to do. Yep, Amy?
Is there any other thing that you use to analyze a student besides the test results? Because my kid doesn't test well. So that's not a true reflection of the type of student that they are. So I just wasn't sure if you could speak to what other tools are being used to assess the student to make sure that they're where they should be.
Yeah. Do you want to? So we always, this is one test. So we use another test called NEWA, which is adaptive. So that is a test where it gets harder or easier, depending on. And one reason we use that tool is that it shows growth, which is to me, I really like to think, is the child growing their skills? Especially as a special educator. If you're really challenged, but you're making growth, that we want to celebrate that, right? So we use that. And we also switched last year to a new assessment program called Ames Web, which drills down better than the SAS data into, okay, the weakness is in fluency. Is it in accuracy for fluency, or is it in speed for fluency? Which then drives our instruction in a better way. So we use all of those, and we use classroom performance, always, because it's always about the child who's in front of us, not about the score that's on the page. So always, always.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, that's not how we're ranked statewide.
I know. I know. I
But-
wish that. You
Yeah.
know, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like not a true reflection sometimes.
No. So the next page is a page that represents some student support information I wanted you to be aware of, and some behavior and discipline report. As you're aware, we use the DESA screener to look at social emotional competencies of our kids. We know our kids in this building very well, but it's good to is every kid screened their social skills and their self-awareness. So you'll see in the middle of that page, in the gray box, those are the 8 competencies that are ranked. It's a very simple screener. It's not a significant, it's not significant. I think real strength for social emotional competencies, and another 60% come in as typical, which means 90% of our kids in this building are rocking it. with social emotional learning and competencies. About 10% of our kids come in as in need. We analyze that data. What is that 10%? And we actually went up to about 16 or 17%, the sort of orange area we called them. We knew about every single one of those kids. Those were kids that we already had plans for. We had either behavioral supports or something something set up to support those kiddos who are really in need. What was really beneficial of the work we did is then we were able to see which area of those 8 competencies were the areas in need that we needed to focus on, both as a building and for certain grade levels. And you'll notice I grade goal-directed behavior, personal responsibility, and optimistic thinking. And what I really was proud and excited to be a part of was our conversations about, okay, how are we going to teach personal responsibility? Both as a cognitive task of what does it mean, but then also how do you show it? How do you show it on the playground? How do you show it in the cafeteria? How do you show it in the hallway, in the classroom? How do you show it at home? So that's very meaningful work for our building. Next is the bottom of this page is an overview of the behavioral and discipline events that involved Mrs. Carey or myself. So these are kiddos, actually not exclusively. It could be someone who was in the classroom. So this is anything that got written up to our behavioral referral form, okay? And sometimes teachers handle things and they don't write it up, right? Sometimes they handle it and they manage it in the classroom, and sometimes it gets written up and the child comes to us to de-escalate and plan and process, okay? I'll just draw your attention to a couple of things. In the primary wing, which is kindergarten, first grade, and second grade, we do not get involved, since I've been here, in pre-K behavioral events. But there were 69 incidents last year, and the bulk of those were around safety. Little kids often touch each other and push a little bit, and it's it's just teaching them mostly around we keep our hands to ourselves, use your words. In the intermediate wing, there were 68 events last year, and there were some in disruption, or the majority were in disruption or in safety. So they start to, maybe not listen to the teacher, or a little not being a little fresh, or so they come down. Just you need to help your peers learn. Are you helping everyone in the classroom learn? We process that with them and walk them back to class and have them apologize to the teacher and re-enter. Okay. In the middle school, there were 130 events last year, which is actually down about 40 from the year before. So we've worked hard through our DESA work, where we're teaching kids, right, about personal responsibility or safety or whatever it is. And I think the classroom teachers have also worked really hard to manage the behavior in the classroom, and to try to give kids as much opportunity to stay in the classroom as possible for learning, because when kids are out of the class, they're not available for learning. Next page. As Mrs. Carey had said, I'm not going to get back into that, but all of the safety events happened last year. I did want to speak again to the threat incident that happened last year. That was a major event for us. We continue to talk about that event. We definitely learned a lot about communication, and I think it's important that we show the things we're really proud of and the things that, we misstepped on some of that communication. So I'm not beating myself up about it. Everything's okay. But I think, as I look back on last year, it's important to say that was a significant event. I gave a facilities update already a few moments ago, so I'm not going to repeat that right now. Technology, I do want to say out loud, all of our students are provided a Chromebook at Plymouth Elementary School. Last year, 2/3 of our classrooms had new overhead projectors purchased and installed. There were a number of Chromebooks that suffered damage from lack of care. And John Ramsey was able to repair some of that. For next year, we will be handing out protective cases to all of the students who are going to take them home. It is we struggle to recoup the costs associated with damage for Chromebooks. So I think that's an important thing that the school board knows, that, you know, there's a little bit of loss associated with the damage to the Chromebooks. We are next month going to come to you with a little different plan about the wear and tear on Chromebooks. So
Could you remind me, how much is a Chromebook about?
300,
Okay,
a little more,
okay.
and plus about $30 for the case.
Yep.
So. PS definitely had a great year with athletics. I think it's worth noting 300 students participated in athletics last year, 152 events. We did not give a good picture of our very vibrant co-curricular program. We had the school play was definitely a highlight. TSA won a number of awards. Our math team won awards. We had NaNoWriMo in the house, which was, absolutely fun to see all those kids writing. So I think there's a lot to be proud of and a lot of work still ahead of us.
Great, can we move right into goals?
Very comprehensive.
Thank you for that.
Goals for 2023-24?
So I wanted this to be a bit of a discussion with all of you. I would like to set an attendance goal that we would reduce the numbers. I'm going to set an aspirational goal. I'd like to reduce both columns by 25%. Which, hear me on the word aspirational. We worked really hard at it last year, and I mean hard. But I think we have to have something we're shooting for where we're making an impact on getting these kids into school.
How
Quick
would
question. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Franny. No, go ahead.
Is transportation an issue, like if they miss the bus or and they're late for the bus and then the family doesn't have the wherewithal?
I think it is
to
a little bit,
get them
although we will go get you and we do. We have
Okay.
2 adults in the car and we go and we'll pick kids up.
Okay,
However, as much as I say that, I'm willing to do that on occasion. I'm not willing, it's not a good use of our time and efforts for us to do that a couple times a week for the same family.
right.
You need to, in the bus, or, you have to be able to manage your time well enough to do that. But I do think that can be an issue.
That kind of leads into my question, resources around how are you gonna, I think it's a great goal to have a 25% reduction, but what's the plan to do that without overtaxing?
Well,
the
one
staff?
big piece of that is publicity, first of all. So by showing these numbers here tonight, it gives me the ability to say the school board is aware of these and have, so to talk about it more in school messages and on the Friday newsletter so that we're getting word out there. I think also to talk about it at PTA, to use Jill Bonin to go more to homes, which is uncomfortable. I will say, I do want you all to know, when we send letters to families saying, your child has been out 7, now your child's been out 14, and we decided together to put the policy from the handbook in the letter that includes after 15, I was going to say, that we can call DCYF. The panic that comes from a number of families about that is unsettling. That is unsettling. However, 15 days is a lot of days to be out of school. So we say, well, please get your child to school. I mean, Kelly handles the bulk of those phone calls or emails.
And you said that there was some anxiety, mental health issues that are keeping kids from coming to school. I know that there was talk about partnering with other resources in the community to help those children with mental health resources. Is that still obviously it's gonna be a continued issue going forward, so I just wanna make sure that that's still a relationship that is being fostered and that those kids are getting the resources, or that the resources are being presented to the parents, because
The
you can't-
resources
you
are
can't-
definitely being
You
presented.
can't force
I
someone
will
to
say
go,
the lack of mental health services in our area is driving a wedge between us being able to do that.
The
We do-
waiting lists,
Yeah.
and appointments 2, 3, 4 months out or more.
That's nothing new in this area, though,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah. I think, I've thought who else can be our partners in this, and, I think coaches are a great, I think we need to get to our coaches, both Plymouth Elementary School coaches and outside organization coaches, and have them say, did everyone go to school 5 days this week? We need to up some of that conversation. I've also wondered about who else might be out there as a partner around some of that.
And a partner for parents too. I think not just the students. I think it's hard, if you're a parent who does have a child that's experiencing anxiety, how do I as a parent work through that and in a loving way continue to guide my child towards school? Because I think once they can learn how to do that, and see that, because the majority of times when a child does get here to school, they're fine for the rest of the day. They get into a routine.
It is
they're around their
rare that
peers,
that's not.
and they go with a good day. But those moments at home in the morning can be tough. So
I think it's worth looking at the front page of this one more time. I mean, the bulk of our absences are also in kindergarten, which is not mandatory, right? So that's skews our numbers a tiny bit, but it also sets off a pattern that school attendance isn't important.
So kindergarten is mandatory to have
Oh,
in
yes.
schools, but the truancy law does not begin till the age of 6, school attendance.
The hard part with it is that the town's made a financial commitment to provide the resources for that, right? So it just seems very wasteful. Because that is the highest number, especially with the 20+ unexcused absences.
Right. The next goal I would say should be under the area of academic achievement. And I would like to set the goal that in both ELA and math, that we reach 60% proficient, which is doable, I think. A little bit aspirational based as I look back over the years, but I think we need something we're reaching for that's not status quo.
10% growth.
Yeah. It's a lot. Do you advise less?
That's fine.
Okay. I think in the area of science, I would, that's a little bit harder to set a goal for because you only do the science tests in 5th grade and 8th grade.
It could be a little bit of an anomaly.
It's a little bit of an anomaly.
Yep, could be for any
Yep,
one
yes.
given year.
So I guess I will table that until next month and maybe come back with a science goal. I'd like to talk to the science teachers about what they think for that.
Why do they only test twice? Why do they not test?
The state?
State.
Just seems like a
5th,
lesser
8th, and 11th.
priority. Is it a lesser priority? Is that why?
I would say, yeah.
And then I would like to set a third goal for a deeper look at instructional practices and whether or not our instructional practices are aligning to the evidence-based practices that we are spending a lot of money and time training our teachers in. So you can get all this training, but are you doing it in the classroom.
That's a hard one.
So
It's hard to assess.
it is, but there are some tools to, and at least shining a light on it.
Is it a teacher reflective or is it like?
I think it can be a teacher reflective. I think it can be a discussion at team meetings and as a part of our collective bargaining agreement, we do have walkthroughs. So it's also walking through classrooms more, which is a big goal of mine. So my personal goal is to be in classrooms every day. So
Tanya, can you help me understand, please, I'm now looking back at the academic achievement and the level 1, 2, 3, 4.
level 4 is proficient with distinction. That's the blue columns.
Mhm.
Level 3, which is green, is proficient. Level 2, which is yellow, is approaching proficiency. And level 1, which is red, is substantially below proficiency.
Oh, I see. So
You're really targeting that red and the yellow groups.
I see the percent proficient. The far right column is the sum of the level 3
Green
and level
and
4.
blue, yes.
I see.
And
And you
these
want
are
to
the
push as
averages.
much out of red and orange into green and blue.
Yeah.
Got it.
The bottom is the percentage of kids
In that level.
in that level.
Mm-hmm.
Across those
Yeah.
groups.
Yeah.
So
Does
if
that-
it was like,
So it
you'd,
really adds to
you'd expect it to
100%.
be like 25, 25, 25, 25, perhaps. Well, no, you'd
No,
want
no,
it to be.
actually, I would, if I was going to, depends which data you read, but I would say 10 to 15%, 15% in the red.
You want to shoot for, typically we shoot for 80% in the green and blue.
Yeah.
15%, typically 10% in the yellow, less than 5% in the red if possible. But that red has a bigger story than just the number.
Yeah.
But that's your hope for a general class or grade.
And do all students take the test, right? Are there
A
students
very
that opt
small,
out?
a very small percentage of students, and by small, I mean really 1 or
Single
2%. 1 or 2% take a different test called the DLM, because this test is so far
It's for
inappropriate. It's just absolutely inappropriate.
Yep.
Okay, and then we had two families this year who opted out on and signed their name to opting out. And then we had a couple of folks who opted out by absenteeism. And they become a 1.
They're an automatic red.
They're an automatic right, 'cause they
You get a
didn't take
0 on the test,
Okay.
yeah.
That's where I wondered, right? Because I have heard some rumblings of that where people are saying that the test isn't fair for kids, right? And, I think it's important that we try to educate people right around that. Because if they're falling into that red, and that's part of our problem.
It penalizes the school
It
even though.
penalizes
kid
the
is
school,
taking it.
right? And I think that they should know that,
Right,
that that's gonna affect us, right? And
yes.
if maybe, I know that you also publicized the dates of the testing this year, right?
Mhm.
And I appreciate that because I tried to schedule appointments around that, but maybe people opted not to. So like there's a push-pull with that. don't
And
know
I
if you wanna
also-
Put that out.
Yes, and I think it's important to remember, I don't want to create too much anxiety for kids around this test. It's one test. One thing that we are thinking about for next year is on all hands on deck, everyone tests on the same day, which seems like a lot, but the testing season drags on. And
I know my kid would appreciate it being over in one day.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
not that you do ELA, math, and science in the same day, but that everyone in the building does ELA on the same day. And it allows us then to build up that day and to say, let's have a great big breakfast, and the parents are gonna come in and cook breakfast for everybody, and, you know, let's make sure we have extra recess, we're gonna have an hour outside afterwards, you know, so it allows us to flip that conversation a little
Yeah.
bit.
Make it
And-
fun and have a reward.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that they don't want to miss.
Right. So, and it also allows us to use our staffing in a different way, because at the same time that we're running testing in 2 grades, we still have to have all the other things happening. But if it's just basically everyone's doing New Hampshire SAS, it simplifies some of that. Do you have any goals that you would like? I spoke to my goals, but it's a good opportunity for any of you to.
I think if you can get those goals done, you'll be doing really
Yep.
well.
I know.
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that people know that this isn't the only measure of a student's.
And when you say academic achievement, it's not based on one assessment. So it's based on a number of classroom assessments, these little, you know, dipsticks as far as that, but we want to make sure every student is making growth over the year. So I think if Tanya maybe rewords it to, you know, growth by 10% or whatever it's projected at for those assessments, you know, that's great.
Have they looked at the effect of kids being home for a year on testing scores?
They have, so the state posted both pre-COVID and post-COVID assessment results. And New Hampshire typically does a lot better than most of the nation as far as that goes. But I think our data is back. It dipped and then it's back
Yes.
to being better, but it still needs to go up. Like it's
Better than.
back.
We're back to where we were in 2018,
You're back to
2019.
where we were pre-COVID, but it's not good enough. Like we're still going up, you know. So that's that piece. There was a dip though that.
But it's taken almost 3 years to recover.
Yeah, our dip was not as substantial, I think, because we were in school.
Right.
But there was a lot of interruption that year as well. Even though we were in school, we were constantly being torn in and out. And rules were changing but.
And
I think the
imagine
point of-
attendance
is-
was higher then too, right?
What's that?
During COVID, attendance, people missed a lot more classes, right?
There was
Well,
no
a lot of
attendance.
these kids,
There was
they
no
were-
They
rules about
exempted
attendance
it.
during that
So
time.
the numbers
Home
must
and
be
not getting
much higher than
instruction,
they were.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
That's part of it.
All the rules were just whatever.
right.
So that mattered.
Yeah.
That has impact.
Sorry.
But we're getting there. You know, there are some signs of hope. I think, you know, the focus back, you know, just SAU wide on teaching and learning and back to rigor and back to some, you know, having some high expectations for our kids, all kids, no matter what their level. Getting the higher kids higher. And then still providing, you know, not just teaching to the middle, just really pulling kids from where they're at. So I think that's been a huge focus. Other business? Do you mind if I move on?
Please.
Okay. The next meeting is September 4th, which is Labor Day. So you cannot hold board meetings on holidays. So I would propose either Monday, the 11th, or Wednesday, the 6th, if you have either one of those available. I cannot do Tuesday, the 5th. I have the high school board meeting.
I have ZBA that night too, so. It's not a big deal. The 6th or the 11th works for me.
6th or 11th is fine with me, either one.
If we keep the Monday, that might work a little.
I was gonna say, is it better to
I
keep
can-
Monday so
I
people,
can do Monday.
it's easy, can you?
Works for me.
And it gives you a couple weeks to be in school and
Yeah.
give a report out on that. So
Saturday.
next meeting will be Monday, the 11th back to 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Is everybody good with 6 o'clock meetings for this school year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Um,
Imagine you do 6 o'clock, just so people can make it to the meeting, right?
yeah, that's a little easier during the school year.
Yeah, I think it is for
Yeah.
parents.
It's hard in the winter when it gets completely dark by
Right.
3:30.
That's the worst.
That's all I had for other business.
Privilege of the floor two. Anyone? No?
Oh,
Anyone? Consent items, claims and payroll.
The only,
Oh,
the only correspondence, Sam, I don't know if you wanted to, he had emailed me to talk, I don't know, Sam, if you want to just
Yeah,
mention that real quick?
yeah, so I just, I received an invite. Full disclosure, it's my sister-in-law. She works for the Mayhew program on Newfound Lake, and she asked me if the school board would be interested in touring their island, since many PES kids go to camp there. I'm as the new guy here, I don't know the protocol for responding to something like that, and so I just wanted to bring it to the board. And I don't know if the school board takes tours like that, so wanted to get others' reactions.
So I have never been asked to go on a tour of anything, so I don't know what the protocol is, Sam, because it's never something that has come up in my
Off-site.
tenure as an offsite. Typically, if it's an offsite visit, like we went to the high school to see what their multimedia center looked like and that it was related to academics specifically. So my thoughts are that I appreciate that your sister reached out to the board, but I feel like if it would benefit, if every single PES kid could go to school there, it would be a different situation for me personally. But I do appreciate the invite. I don't
Yeah.
want her to think that we weren't appreciative of it.
Yeah, I'll
I
pass along.
just don't think
board's
that
thoughts.
it's something that has to do directly with the building itself and the students of the building. So it's my opinion. Someone else can chime in if they have a different opinion.
I think an alternative is if you wanted to do that as an individual rather than a board member, that might be more, because you have to post anything, it doesn't have to do with the agenda, but if you're interested in just taking a look on your own, you're more than welcome to do that.
Yeah.
I'm interested. Oh, Tanya is more than
I was
welcome to
gonna
go.
say, I bet you the guidance people and some of the
Brian
middle
has
school
been.
people
Brian
who make
went this summer.
referrals would
Yeah.
love to
Oh.
I
go
was gonna
check
say,
it
we're
out.
not usually the ones that make that decision.
Right, or we
Right.
make the
So, like,
referrals.
I feel like it's the
Yeah.
school that makes the decision where they take the kids,
Yeah,
right? Where you
Yeah,
guys
it's a
propose
summer,
taking
it's a
them.
summer camp for,
Right.
we,
It's
we
summer camp.
do
Yeah,
send
it's
a
called
number
summer
of
camp,
kids
not-
there.
yeah.
And it's really actually changed a couple of kids' lives that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
Like literally changed their lives and their outcomes. So it is
Summer
amazing.
camp
Yeah,
I
it
is
might
would
be
amazing.
more
love to go.
beneficial for the school counselor and
Okay.
the
Yeah.
We all come
principals
back
to
as
go.
an individual,
School
not
nurse,
like
anybody who
capacity.
might make a
And make that
referral.
connection with the child.
Maybe hook up, going to the Circle Camp too, because that's an awesome location also
It's a
for,
great facility.
kids
So that's
in
what we
need.
have, it'd be,
Yeah.
it's a lot.
Right.
I just,
Hi, I'm gonna send around a quick report for all of you to sign for Dan as the year-end financials come up. Amy, yours is the top, you're in a separate top, yeah. And then, on the second page too, as he prepares to submit the
Can
end.
I, ask, backing up, you said the August 24th was the teacher thing at 8 in the morning?
There's something on, there's other things on
The agenda that day.
yes.
I just didn't know what you were inviting us to.
So
do.
I was just, if you wanted to come, the breakfast will be from 7:15 to 8.
Oh, I
At
see.
8 o'clock, we'll gather the entire school community in the gymnasium. And I was inviting you to come and to welcome teachers back and to say thank you
And to have breakfast.
and to have breakfast. If you want to come at 7:30 and have,
yeah. The 24th.
yes.
That's a fun breakfast.
That's the morning of the welcome open house.
Open
for
house,
the kids.
It's at night.
But that's at night, so
Yeah.
it'd be like sandwiching both, right? But that's fine.
What time?
Breakfast and
7:30?
dinner.
And where is it?
7:30 is breakfast, 8 o'clock is the start of a long day of time with Tanya. No, it's workshops in the gymnasium.
Listed on the itinerary.
Yes.
Monday at 10.
Welcome.
Very familiar with those. those days, but not with Tanya.
And it's fun. It's fun to see the teachers and say thank you. We get every year.
Yes.
So.
All
Should I
right.
make a motion to go to non-public?
Oh, so moved.
Sorry.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Not
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jen, nice to see you.